I'll be busy taking care of the baby soon. I won't be able to come home for a while, so don't miss me too much, okay? My husband's words cut through me as he packed his things. I stood there, numb, watching him. He seemed unaffected by my feelings, casually laughing and humming as he asked about our son's baby bottle. Except the baby he referred to wasn't ours. It was the child he had with his younger mistress. Yes, this man had abandoned me and our son. My name is Linda, a 42-year-old caregiver. I work part-time, so my income isn't great, but I'm currently studying to become a certified nursing assistant. My family consists of my husband and our son. My husband is 45 years old and works as a manager in a reasonably large company. He has been there for many years. He used to have a reputation as a womanizer, causing me countless tears. I confronted him multiple times, asking who mattered more to him, me or the other women. But despite the pain, I never left him because I loved him deeply. After our son was born, my husband settled into his job, and I balanced work, housekeeping, and parenting as time flew by. Robert, our son, turns 18 this month. He's worked hard through a rebellious phase and is now on the brink of high school graduation, striving to get into his dream college. The thought of him leaving home worries us as parents, though he's grown into a tall, handsome young man poised on the threshold of adulthood. As Robert focused on his college exams, there were evenings when my husband came home late. Initially, I attributed it to his demanding job, but unanswered calls and messages fueled my suspicions. Evidence accumulated, perfume on his suits, stray hairs in the car, that left me doubting, yet I lacked the courage to confront him. Then, during a family dinner one evening, my husband, flushed from alcohol, remarked, "Robert has really grown up, hasn't he? I still feel like a kid sometimes. But you've grown so much taller since middle school, and your face has matured, hasn't it?" Robert, visibly embarrassed by the attention, awkwardly scratched his head. My husband glanced at us casually and remarked, "So you don't need your old man anymore, huh?" "What do you mean?" I was taken aback by the sudden shift in conversation, exchanging puzzled looks with Robert. My husband finished his beer in one gulp and dropped the bombshell. "Well, the thing is, my girlfriend is pregnant." The room fell silent. Girlfriend? Pregnant? It was incomprehensible. I let out a nervous laugh. "You must be joking. You've had too much to drink." "No, it's true. I've been seeing her for a year now. I intended to keep it quiet, but it looks like we're expecting a baby." I stood up abruptly, shielding Robert's ears. He stared at his father, bewildered. "Robert, please go back to your room." "What? This might be the last time we're all together." I haven't had much chance to talk to Robert lately. Let him stay a bit longer, my husband said casually. "How can you say that? I don't understand how you think it's appropriate for our son to hear this." "And what do you mean by the last time?" Anger surged through me, and I raised my voice. In a protective reflex, I pulled Robert close in a tight hug. He's already stressed with his upcoming exams. I don't want him involved in this kind of conversation. My husband remained unfazed, continuing, "Well, I won't be coming home for a while because I'll be helping her raise the baby, you know." My head spun at his words. So he had a mistress and was expecting a baby with her, dropping this bombshell on us only as the birth approached. I couldn't comprehend my husband's actions. I felt like everything was unraveling. Over our more than 20 years together, there were times I resented him, but I always found solace in seeing him as a devoted father to Robert. Did he truly desire his mistress so intensely that he was willing to discard all the trust and years we had built together? "Well, that's how it is. I'm going to her place this weekend, so I'd better start getting ready," he announced, beginning to pack his things into a backpack. I stood there, feeling like a hole had been torn in my heart. "Hey, do we still have the baby bottles Robert used?" Despite the somber mood, my husband was smiling. I shook my head silently. There was one thing left, not saved for him and his mistress, but for when Robert grew up, so my husband and I could reminisce about our parenting journey, praising each other and sharing memories. My husband muttered something about it being a waste and headed to the bedroom to organize his clothes. Did he just abandon us? Robert whispered tearfully, and I couldn't find the words to deny. 3 days later, my husband left for his mistress's place. When I confronted him, crying that I had once believed in him, he replied, "I always wanted another child, but you were always so busy, weren't you? And while we were caught up in all that, we just kept getting older." I knew we couldn't have another one. I forced a laugh, the pain cutting deep. Robert held back tears, glaring at his father while gently rubbing my back. What's with that look? By the time I'm back, I won't be here anymore. Are you okay with that? You're an adult now, right? You've lost that childlike charm and aren't as cute anymore. I've heard my girlfriend's baby is a girl, so I might end up liking her more than you. Robert lunged at his father. He flinched momentarily, but then met Robert's glare head-on. She's so young and cute, unlike you guys. I'm really looking forward to our future together. Yeah, I get it now. You're the worst dad. At least now Mom and I know where we stand. I joined Robert, finding my voice. Know that there won't be a home for you to return to anymore. My husband, his expression annoyed, shrugged off Robert's grip and departed without a farewell. Robert stood by me, supporting me as I felt my strength wane. We didn't sit idle after learning about my husband's mistress. We had already begun planning our next steps. About 2 weeks later, my husband called. He chuckled, mentioning how smoothly things were going with raising their daughter, who he described as adorable. He even sent a photo of his mistress holding the child, igniting a simmering rage within me. Unknowingly, he provided us with evidence. I saved the photo and began recording our conversation, amazed at his recklessness. Then, right on cue, his mistress took the phone and started talking. Are you the wife? I'm sorry I've taken your husband all for myself, but we have a child together now, so it can't be helped, right? Well, yes, raising a child can be tough. I'm glad you understand. When your husband first mentioned you, I thought you were just a weak person who couldn't do anything but cry. But that's clearly not who you are. So that's what he had been saying about me to his mistress. Half a year ago, those words would have cut deeply, but now they left me numb. My love for my husband had long since faded. You knew my husband was married with a child, and yet you pursued him anyway. I didn't know at first. He never wore his wedding ring when we were together, so when he finally told me, it was a surprise. But it didn't change my feelings for him. We're meant to be together forever. It's a good thing they're both so clueless. This would serve as evidence that the mistress knew my husband was married and still continued their relationship. While her words were infuriating, the potential payoff was significant. It would have been more challenging to exact revenge if she appeared genuinely remorseful and troubled by the unplanned child. I wished them both well and hung up. 2 years had passed since that day. Then I saw that familiar number on my phone screen. Taking a deep breath, I answered, Hey, how have you been? I'm on my way home now, so make sure the house is clean, okay? Didn't I tell you there's no home for you to return to? What are you trying to prove? My husband sounded exasperated. Okay, I admit leaving abruptly was wrong, but I can't abandon her to raise the child alone, can I? You're a mother too, you should understand. He still doesn't get it. He hasn't changed since that day. Maybe that's for the best. It confirms that Robert and I made the right choice in taking care of ourselves. I think you misunderstand. There literally is no house for you to return to. I sold it. I heard my husband gasp on the other end of the line. 2 years ago, that day, I made a decision to confront my oblivious husband with everything that had transpired. My son and I grappled with the daunting task of removing him from our lives for good. Amidst it all, I realized the risk of him wanting to return and resume where he left off. After everything he had done and said, living with him seemed impossible. Even our once shared home felt tainted to me now. When I voiced my turmoil, Robert calmly posed the question, Isn't this house in your mom's name? Yes, it's the house I inherited from my grandfather. We renovated it and moved in. In that case, why don't we sell it? Robert's bold suggestion took me by surprise, but selling the house meant my husband could never return to it. The proceeds would also fund legal assistance and a private investigator for the divorce. Robert had been saving diligently, ensuring we could start anew without financial worries. I agreed to Robert's plan and began preparations. Robert intensified his studies, earning acceptance to a distant college, while I pursued certification as a nursing assistant. With higher earning potential, I could work anywhere. Thus, we sold the house. We had obtained permission from my grandfather, who had taken on a parental role after my parents passed away. When I explained the situation, he was outraged. My grandparents contributed a portion of their savings, urging us to use it for a fresh start. Despite my hesitation, they insisting there was no reason for them to hold onto the money at their age, and pressed an envelope filled with cash into my hands. Their kindness moved me to tears. And so, we started our new life in the state where Robert's college was located. Given your lack of interest in our lives during Robert's exam preparations, you probably have no idea where we reside now. You can't bluff me like that." My husband's voice rose in panic. "If you think it's a lie, you can come and see for yourself. We're busy. We're hanging up now." "Hey, wait." At that moment, Robert, who had been quietly observing, took the phone from me. "Dad, remember what you said? That we don't need you anymore? We agree. We don't need a father who abandons us for his mistress." With a steely tone, Robert's words brought my husband to tears. "Please, wait. I know I messed up, but don't abandon me." Taking the phone back from Robert, I prepared to deliver the final blow. "You may not agree to a divorce, but we're moving forward with the preparations regardless. And did you know that alimony payments for fathering the child during our marriage can be nearly double the standard amount? You better start preparing for that." Without waiting for his response, I ended the call. Immediately, my husband tried calling back, but I declined. I refused any further stress. From now on, he would bear the financial burden of raising a child with his mistress and paying me alimony. My husband lacked real skills to support himself, and I had always cleaned up after him. He left dirty dishes and scattered laundry, rarely helping with household chores and only occasionally taking out the trash, boasting when he did. I couldn't envision him and his young lover enduring for long. After speaking my mind, a sense of relief washes over me and I take a deep breath. Robert looks concerned. "I'm okay. I said what needed to be said, and I feel much better now. Let's go out and have something you enjoy today," I say, mustering a smile despite my weariness. He still appears worried but tries to appear cheerful for my sake. I find my sons debating between steak, sushi, or pizza utterly endearing. We face challenges, but let's create more happy memories together. This new place may be unfamiliar, but Robert and I will manage just fine. I need to help him become more independent. When we moved in together, he mentioned how glad he was to still enjoy my home-cooked meals since he's not great at cooking. But moving forward, whether he has friends over or even a girlfriend, I'll need to make space for them too. Robert is such a caring child, always concerned about me. I worry his girlfriend might eventually find it overwhelming. Teaching him to cook will be essential for his independence, adding to my already busy schedule. With my husband gone, I no longer feel lonely. Thinking about our future, I laugh, feeling refreshed. Knowing he's completely out of my life allows me to live with a clear conscience for the rest of my days. My mother-in-law scrutinized the allergy test results with a piercing gaze. As soon as she confirmed our child's blood type, she erupted, "This is outrageous. This child can't be our son's. We all share the same blood type." She crumpled the test results in a fit of rage and hurled them to the floor. "I had my suspicions ever since you announced your pregnancy. You tricked our son into this." Calmly, I picked up the crumpled paper from the floor and examined it. Then I looked up and said, "Yes, mother-in-law, he's not your son's child. My name is Kay Forrester, 34 years old. I live with my husband, Jake, in a rented apartment in New York. Our relationship began as a workplace romance, and despite his busy schedule, Jake is a kind husband who actively helps with household chores. Even today, when I came home, Jake had washed the frying pan and dishes from breakfast. Welcome back. Try not to push yourself too hard with the overtime. You won't be able to handle it, okay?" he said. "I'm home," I replied. "Yeah, I know. But I can't just ignore it. I can't help it." While changing into my loungewear in the bedroom, I caught a whiff of a delicious aroma wafting from the kitchen. Tonight's dinner was my favorite, Jake's special fried chicken. I grabbed a can of beer from the fridge and noticed a big circle around the 10th on the calendar. Oh, I completely forgot. Next Friday is our 7th wedding anniversary. Let's go out for dinner. I feel like having French for a change. I thought you might say that. I've already made a reservation at a French restaurant in Manhattan, Jake replied. Really? Thank you. I'm so excited. As I savored a mouthful of fried chicken, I found myself reflecting deeply on the 7 years that had passed since our wedding. We still don't have children. I had always thought that pregnancy would naturally follow marriage, but even after 1 year, 2 years, it didn't happen. My sister, who married 4 years after me, now has 2 kids, and my friends seem to be getting pregnant one after another. In the early years, I wasn't desperate and could genuinely celebrate the pregnancy announcements of those close to me. But now, even hearing about celebrities' pregnancies stings. I despise this part of myself that can't wholeheartedly rejoice in others' happiness. Why will we have a baby? My mobile search history was filled with keywords about pregnancy. Whenever I had a moment to myself, my thoughts would inevitably turn to having a baby. My mother-in-law only added to the stress. It seems the concept of taboo is foreign to her. She barged into our apartment the other day, making sarcastic comments about our childlessness and suggesting divorce. "So, when are you planning to get pregnant?" "I'm tired of waiting," she demanded. "Well, this isn't something we can control. I'm doing my best, you know," I responded. "Don't you feel sorry for Jake because he can't become a father?" "Actually, I also want to see Jake become a father soon. If you really feel that way, why don't you divorce him? I believe there's someone more suitable for Jake. If he marries a healthy woman who can bear children, he'd become a father in no time," she retorted. Her words stung, and though I tried to stay calm, the frustration and sadness were overwhelming. Facing such harsh words with a straight face, I managed to get by all this time thanks to Jake and my father-in-law. They've always stood up for me, often appearing more exasperated with my mother-in-law's obsession with wanting grandchildren than I was. To maintain my peace, I kept a safe distance from her, avoiding unnecessary contact and only acknowledging her on Mother's Day and her birthday. One night, as usual, Jake and I were watching TV after dinner. I had been feeling a little feverish since morning, so I decided to check my temperature. It was slightly elevated at 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit. I often feel under the weather before my period, but when I checked my period tracking app, I realized my period was late this month. Hurriedly, I retrieved a pregnancy test from the bathroom cabinet. To my surprise, it showed 2 distinct lines indicating a positive result. "Jake, look at this," I said, holding up the test. "What does this mean?" he asked, eyes wide. "It means I'm pregnant," I replied, smile spreading across my face. "We're finally going to have a baby." Overwhelmed with joy, I burst into tears on the spot, reflecting on how much time and money we had spent to reach this moment. After verifying the pregnancy test result multiple times, Jake hugged me tightly. "Thank you for giving up alcohol, smoking, and going to the sauna. Starting today, you're free to enjoy them again." "Nah, compared to the effort you've put in, my sacrifices are nothing. I'll hold off on the drinks until after you've safely given birth. I'm already looking forward to that celebratory drink," Jake replied with a smile. A few days later, we visited the gynecologist, where the pregnancy was confirmed. "There's a baby in my belly," I marveled, experiencing the strange yet warm feeling for the first time. I didn't care about the baby's gender. I just wished for it to be born healthy. I can still vividly recall the moment when I first felt my child's movement in my womb. Every day, Jake would touch my belly and talk to our baby. "Hey, it's Daddy. Can't wait to meet you." "Hey, no, it's too early for you to be born," I'd remind him playfully. Right, my bad. You need to stay in the belly a little longer," he respond, laughing. Now, as I enter my 8th month of pregnancy, I feel a mixture of anticipation and excitement. I started my maternity leave and settled into a leisurely routine. One day, while watching a movie with Jake at home, I felt a sudden, rapid soaking sensation accompanied by a popping sound. I instantly realized my water had broken. I called the general hospital where I was scheduled to give birth, and they instructed us to come in immediately. We rushed there by taxi, my excitement outweighing any nervousness. I was finally about to meet my child. Upon arriving at the hospital, labor pains began, marking the start of a long and arduous process. Hours passed without the baby descending, and I reached my physical and mental limits. My screams echoed through the hospital. "I can't do this anymore. It hurts. It hurts." 15 minutes later, our baby finally arrived. "You did well," Jake said, tears streaming down his face as he patted my head. "He's adorable, our baby." The newborn baby was so tiny and fragile that I felt I might break it if I touched it. It was the most precious sight I had ever seen. Just a moment ago, this little one was inside my belly. As I held my baby's tiny, soft finger, a tear rolled down my cheek. I was certain I could do anything for this child. Despite being born prematurely due to my water breaking early and having a low birth weight, our child grew healthily. Time flew by, and before we knew it, it was time to prepare for preschool. "Hey, how about going to the shopping center next Saturday? We need to start buying stuff for preschool," I suggested. "What do we need to get?" Jake asked. "You know, a backpack, water bottle, lunchbox, that sort of stuff," I replied. "Don't they serve lunch at the preschool?" he inquired. "I think it depends on the place, right? Shouldn't we get an allergy test done before starting preschool? Ha! But we'll be packing lunch, right? Yes, but they provide snacks at preschool. Both of us have food allergies, don't we? We need to check if that has been passed on. You're right, it's a concern. Yeah, let's take our child for an allergy test soon. The following week, we took our child to the hospital for an allergy test. There was a section of the questionnaire asking if we wanted to check the blood type as well. Since the blood type check was free, we decided to go for it. The test results will be sent to us by email later. The world has indeed become very convenient. A few days later, when I returned from shopping, there was an envelope in our mailbox. The allergy test results had arrived. After washing my hands, I immediately opened the envelope to check the results. As expected, our child has a few food allergies. I felt a bit guilty about this, but it's okay. Jake and I have learned a lot about managing food allergies. There are many alternative and allergy-friendly foods available, and some children's allergic reactions lessen as they grow. I put the test results on the refrigerator door with a magnet so Jake could check them later. All right, I think I'll start preparing dinner, I said to myself. As I put away the groceries, the doorbell rang. Checking the footage of the front porch, I found my in-laws standing there unexpectedly. Frustrated by their unannounced visit, I opened the front door. Hello, father-in-law, mother-in-law. It's been a while. Okay, we're sorry for dropping by unannounced. I told Lisa that we should have informed you in advance, my father-in-law said. We don't need to inform anyone when visiting our own son's house. Now, please let us see our grandchild, my mother-in-law declared, barging in and spreading out the children's clothes and toys she was holding all over the living room. All high-end stuff, she noted. My mother-in-law is a brand fanatic, the complete opposite of me, as I have no interest in luxury brands. I started boiling water to make tea for my in-laws. Wait a minute, Kay, what are you doing? My mother-in-law asked. Oh, I'm just about to serve tea. Please wait a moment, I replied. I don't want to drink such cheap tea. Don't you have any other beverages? My mother-in-law said, striding confidently over to the fridge. But then she froze in front of it, her gaze fixed on the paper stuck to its surface. What's this? Oh, we thought of having an allergy test done before our child starts preschool, I explained. That's not what I meant. I'm talking about this blood type, she insisted. Ha! I followed her gaze to the blood type next to her child's name. It read type A. My mother-in-law's face turned beet red as she started yelling at me. Okay, you are the worst. Calm down, please, mother-in-law, I urged, trying to diffuse the tension. How can I stay calm? This is not our son's child. All of us are type O. With a burst of anger, my mother-in-law crumpled up the test results paper and threw it on the floor. I knew something was off when you announced your pregnancy. Okay, you cheated. I want you to divorce Jake. Of course, we'll be seeking compensation. I calmly picked up the crumpled test result paper from the floor, and then I was certain of something. Actually, mother-in-law, it's the other way around. Jake is not your son. Jake has type O blood. Upon hearing this, my mother-in-law became enraged, claiming it was impossible because both she and my father-in-law have type O blood, accusing me of lying. She insisted that their son should also have type O blood as per what she heard at the time of his birth. My mother-in-law wasn't aware that a newborn's blood type is not reliable and can change as they grow. Here's the proof, I said, seizing the moment to show her a piece of paper. It was the results of a blood test that my husband Jake had taken as part of our infertility treatment. His blood type unmistakably was A. Seeing this, my mother-in-law turned pale and silently sat down on a chair. She began to sweat coldly, obviously rattled. My usually quiet father-in-law spoke up. What does this mean, Lisa? There's a reason behind this. A reason? Are you going to make excuses? Stop messing around. This was the first time I'd seen my father-in-law explode with such anger. I quickly told my child to go into the other room. Even if they couldn't understand yet, I didn't want them hearing this messy conversation. After a few minutes of tense silence, my mother-in-law, seemingly resigned, started to tell the truth through her tears. It was a revelation that dated back 30 years. Early in their marriage, my father-in-law often embarked on long business trips abroad, a necessity of his job in a trading company. Despite the circumstances, he had no choice but to accept these assignments. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law, feeling isolated after moving away from her hometown and lacking nearby friends, found solace in an affair born of loneliness. Shockingly, that other man was a junior colleague my father-in-law held in high regard. It was a revelation that shattered the illusion of our family's history. Jake, unwittingly at the center of it all, was the child born from the affair between my mother-in-law and her lover. How would Jake react to this bombshell? My worry for him consumed me. Yet to my surprise, Jake seemed oddly unfazed by the news. He never verbalized it, but his calm demeanor suggested he may have known the truth all along, perhaps from the subtle clues that hinted at his non-biological connection to his parents. Since the day the shocking truth was revealed, I haven't crossed paths with my mother-in-law at all. There was one email from her, but I deleted it without a second thought. Later, my father-in-law, understandably outraged by the decades-long deception, presented divorce papers to my mother-in-law. It was a necessary step. With her history of infidelity, my mother-in-law had no grounds to refuse, and the divorce was finalized smoothly. My mother-in-law, who had lived a life of luxury as a stay-at-home wife fully dependent on my father-in-law, now seems to be grappling with the reality of making ends meet. I wonder if she's considering finding employment. I ponder if there's a place where she can start working. Well, it's none of my business. When I think about what my mother-in-law did to my father-in-law and the hurtful words she directed at me, there's no room for sympathy. On the bright side, the relationship between my father-in-law and my husband Jake is still strong. It was all my mother-in-law's doing, and Jake is blameless. Even without a biological tie, after 30 years of raising him, he's truly my son, my father-in-law assured Jake. Despite the divorce from my mother-in-law, my father-in-law continues to show kindness not only to Jake but also to me and our child. He takes us out to eat once a month and even brings back souvenirs from his trips for us. Previously, I used to wake up in the morning dreading what unpleasantness the day would bring. But now, I wake up with anticipation, wondering what wonderful things will happen. My world is beginning to brighten. Another new day unfolds. Today, as I wake up, my husband and child prepare breakfast, pack lunches, and change clothes. There's so much to do. Surrounded by my beloved family,